Hi and welcome back. In this tutorial we're going to take a little bit of time out from making our drum kit from the Slice Beatbox sample, and we're going to have a bit of a look at the defaults folder and making our own slicing preset. Now I was actually going to leave this at first and just cover the defaults folder and making presets in a separate category because it's a more general thing and it doesn't really only apply to this category. But as we've been going through and editing each slice, you'll have noticed that all of the parameters for the volume envelope and the loop settings are automatically mapped to the macros in the rack for every slice. And that's because the preset that is used every time you slice a sample is set up to do this. And we don't really want that. We want to have independent control over every slice separately because we're going to want different settings for every single drum sound. So this means that every single time we edit a slice, we have to go through and unmap every single parameter in the volume envelopes and loop settings, which is becoming quite tedious. So while it does make sense in a way to cover the defaults folder and making presets on its own in a separate section, because it is a more general thing and it doesn't only apply to what we're doing here, I've decided that it is really worth just taking this little bit of time out and going over it quickly now, because it's actually going to save us a lot of time in the long run. And it really isn't going to take us very long at all to do this. All we have to do is create the preset, reslice the sample, then copy across all the work we've already done into the new drum rack. So, to start with, all we do is go to the device browser here and to the instruments folder. And we're just going to drag an empty drum rack into this empty space here. And a new MIDI track's created containing that empty drum rack. Now we just press this button here to enable the chain list view, and we're just going to drag an empty simpler into that space there. Actually, we didn't even need to enable that view, we could have dragged straight to that pad. Now the reason we have to drag that simpler in is basically to tell Live that we're actually overriding the existing default settings, because by dragging a simpler in, we're telling it that we don't want any macros mapped to that simpler because we haven't mapped them. If there was no simpler in there, then the drum rack would be totally empty and Live would just use the default settings. So we need to drag that simpler in just to tell it to override the macro settings. So once we've done this, we just go to a folder in the browser here and we go to the library. We go down to D, we can see there's a defaults folder there. Double click on that. You can see at the bottom here, slicing. If we open that, we can just see a few presets in here, that some of which I've created and some which have shipped with Live. And basically all we have to do is just drag this drum rack into that slicing folder. And we can see it's created this preset here, which is highlighted, ready to rename. So I'm just going to press the left arrow on my keyboard. I'm going to add the word empty to the start of that. And I'm going to press the end button on my keyboard. And I'm going to add no macros. Enter. So that's it. We've created our preset. I can delete that track now because I don't need it anymore. So now I'll just right click on that clip, slice to new MIDI track. And we go with the warp marker again like we did before, and slicing preset, this time is empty drum rack, no macros. Click OK. We can see, here we go, it's created a new drum rack and none of the macros are mapped to anything, which is exactly what we wanted. And if you double click on one of these slices, you can see none of the parameters are mapped. Perfect. I'll hide that chain list view and the macro view now. So basically we've created a whole new drum rack. It hasn't kept any of the work that we've done, but that's okay. That's easy enough to copy across. All we do is go back to the other drum kit we've been creating and literally we just drag the pads to the track without letting go, and then it brings it into view, and then we drag it to the other pad. And we can hear It's dragged the effects and everything. It's basically the whole chain has been copied across or moved across. We then go back and do the same for clap. Drag it up without letting go so it brings it into focus. Clap. And we do the same for closed hi-hat. And it's copied across our kick, clap and closed hi-hat. But with the main difference being that now all of the other slices are now unmapped, so that as we carry on working through our kit, we no longer have to go through and unmap all of those parameters. So you can see that's going to make life a lot easier from now on. So the only thing it hasn't done is that we haven't copied the returns. So if we enable that there, see there's no returns here. Now, unfortunately, we can't just drag these chains like we did with the pads. We have to actually create our own presets. I don't know why that is. There must be some kind of technical limitation, but we just drag these, and if we hold Shift, and that's on Mac and PC, and then click on the gate as well, it selects both of them, and then we can right click or hold Control and click if you've got a one button mouse. Choose Group. Now you can see in this menu it's also Control G, and that would be Command G on Mac. So we'll select that, and it creates a little group with those two effects. So we're going to now press this button here, and we're going to change the name to Reverb Gate 01 because there's two of them. Hit enter. You can see it renames the chain there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Select one, hold Shift, select the other one. This time I'm going to do Control G and group the two together. And I'm going to press that button again. And this time Reverb Gate 02. Enter. So now, if we look in the browser here, and audio effect racks, look down there, they are Reverb Gate 01, Reverb Gate 02. So if we click across to this other new track, we can just literally drag those in. To there. Now of course we're going to need to change our send settings again, but that's no big deal. That wasn't hard to set up. That one was up here somewhere and this one was up there somewhere. So that's it, we should be ready to go. So there's the original clip. Stop that one. So that's the original clip. We'll just move that to the top and copy across these two clips there. Sounds exactly the same. So I'm going to delete that track now, and we're going to rename that track. I'm also going to rename it here. And there we go, we're ready to go. So we've now rebuilt our kit. We've kept all the work we've already done, but now as we carry on working on our kit, we no longer have to keep unmapping all those parameters. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.